Is Tuesday, September 10th. We're going to ask Commissioner Pickens to lead the invocation. Commissioner Adamsack will do the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise if you're able to do so.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this glorious day and all the blessings in it. Father God, we just think of the opportunity to gather here as our 2 o'clock workshop with our commissioners, our staff, our concerned citizens. Let us listen to each of the participants with their comments and digest that and use this to our best decisions for the county. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Pickens, Commissioner Adamsack. Appreciate that. I'm going to do things a little different today. Instead of calling people up for public comment on agenda items, when we get to that part that you're interested in, we're going to give you time to speak. But we're going to move the agenda around just a little bit because we got 2 gentlemen that need to get back to work. So Commissioner Wilkinson, if you'll take item J first.
Sure, thank you. So today we have in front of us from the Sheriff's Office, Captain Stacy Dowling, and is it Captain Silva? Major Silva. If y'all can come up to the podium, please. They have passed out some information to us just a little while ago, but what they're wanting to do, and they'll go into some of the details, and this is just the first, they're planting the seed, so to speak. But anyway, their idea of creating a food inmate farm program out at the Sheriff's Office.
Yes, ma'am. So what we're looking at is...
If you will, pull the microphone right to you. And
Sorry about that, sir.
that's okay.
So what we're looking at and trying to accomplish is right there behind the north side of the jail, some of that county property, if we could, is putting a farm back there with some row crops and teaching inmates how to grow some of the food that they'll actually consume. We have an agreement with our kitchen vendor, and they will actually process that and then in turn serve that back to them on their trays and try and save some taxpayer money there, as well as educate them on the use of that or from planting it all the way through to even preparing it, because they teach that class as well.
Excellent. Now, other sheriff's department does that around the state, right? Marion County does?
Yes, sir. Marion County does that, and we've actually have an agreement with them as well. For any excess that we grow, we can trade with them and barter with them for some things that they grow. If it's something that we're not going to grow or use, we have a barter agreement with them in place also.
Okay, and so one of the benefits, so there's many benefits of this. So after people get out of incarceration, it would help them find jobs. It helps with their mental health and their personal development. Some of the other research I've done also, it gives people a sense of accomplishment, right? It gives people, they're able to provide for themselves and a sense of ownership. And you guys have marked out on this property behind you about 22 acres is what we estimate. It goes out to the center of the power line. And there is some cows on that property. So what we would be doing if we were able to move this forward is we would work to renegotiate with the current lessee. Less this footprint, obviously. There's still about 100 acres out there where some cows are being utilized in that property. So we would negotiate with that current lessee with a new price per acre based on current standards of what other cow owners are paying in the area. So, and I would work with the county administrator and attorney on that with direction from the board, if that's okay.
I think it's a wonderful idea. Commissioner Turner?
A couple of things. We were going to use part of that property for a large animal area for the animal services building that we're building. That's always been the plan, that part of that would be a pasture in case y'all have to take in a cow or a horse or something that wouldn't fit in the dog and cat kennels up at the new animal services.
Yes, sir. If you'll look at the picture that we printed out here, so Google Earth printout, you'll notice the square that's east of what we're looking at there. That is where the new animal services
Right.
system is. Obviously, the picture does not reflect where that building is and that area is set up. However, this area, all the way from the corner of that property along the wood line, a very small portion of that is slated to possibly be used by UF and local farmers. The rest of that will not be used for any gardening yet. It will be a while before we be able to take it to totally encompass that entire 22 acres.
Right, so right now, you're
There would
looking
be
at just
plenty of
taking
room
up,
if we need to expand for such as a cow, a horse, or some other large livestock that can't be held within the confinements of what is standard animal control. There would be more than ample room to be able to,
Okay, that's fine. I had no issue with that. I'm just saying that I knew that was part of the overall plan for moving it there. The animal services was that we had that big pasture behind it that we could utilize part of it for large animal. My other up and just because you're not going to have inmates out there with hose, you're going to you're going to want to buy tractors, and you're going to want to buy farming equipment, and you're going to large stuff. So we're not talking about $50,000. We're talking about $500,000 worth of farming equipment here to set up a farm this big.
Yes, sir. So we're not going to start out with the full 22 acres. We're going to step into this incrementally. We do have the inmate welfare fund that is generated through sources at the jail that can fund some of this and help us with that. And then the money that we save through supplementing the food sources at the facility would offset all of that. I don't believe that we would have to come to you and ask for any money in that respect.
same way with fencing, that was the same thing they talked about. And then they've also already had discussions with the University of Florida and Wendy Mussolini about donation of some seeds and fertilizer and that kind of stuff. But like you said, that's not the heavy cost to this. It would be, fencing and all of that in the future. But it seems like they've got a good plan, and they're not wouldn't utilize the whole 22 acres. Right now it would be started, maybe just a few acres at first. And as we all know, the cost of fresh fruit and vegetables has certainly gone up. I mean, I looked online, it's like a 40% increase. So if we can reduce the cost to the jail, it makes good sense. So we're not really asking for anything particular today. I think this is the very first step in going forward, just getting some consensus on the board, or would we be okay with this? And then getting into the details as to the footprint and all of that going forward.
Well, I have no issue moving it forward today for further research and looking into it or whatever, as long as it's not going to cost a lot of money.
I
I
agree.
just don't feel like it's my place to burden the people that are going to be sitting in these chairs in 2 months.
All right, well, that's good.
And I think going forward, you'll probably get some volunteer people that would come out there and plow some of the land up and till it. I mean,
If you
anybody that
wanted.
owns a tractor would love to go till, but I think this is a very noble thing. And I think that, it's going to benefit the prisoners, it's going to benefit the county cost. It's a win-win situation, and we got the land there. So,
It's 22 acres.
But 22 acres is what they're asking for in this footprint, but again, it is flexible because they don't really, I think they were just trying to come up with a good line, right? And so they went to the power line, but they don't know that they'll utilize the whole. So when they come back the next time, it might only be down to 10 acres or 15.
Yeah, and they
It's still a pretty big garden.
It's a pretty big garden, but
So
probably need to try and pick how much acres they actually need, because it's also going to be, if they take it out of the cattle program, somebody's going to have to mow the grass and do the maintenance and do all that. So,
That's fair.
they might want to do 10 acres now on the west end. Let's see, that'd be north on the west end. So, and then start moving, more, and maybe just take the part of it you're actually going to use out of your cattle lease program, where you don't have to maintain that other property.
do you have plans of, if you say you did 10 acres, that still will produce a lot of food, probably more than what the jail can utilize. Would you donate it to nonprofits or sell it, or what would, and you may have said that, I might have missed that.
So we can, we have an agreement worked out with Marion County where we can trade for things that we're not growing that they are. They have a hog program that they're running currently, a cow-calf operation that they're running, and a row crop operation. So we can trade for anything that they have in excess, and anything beyond that we would probably donate.
Okay. Any And I understand they have inmates involved out there. Any way to coordinate with the FFA, local FFAs to maybe participate in that, or does that be a no-no there?
Yeah. Students.
I think we could, as long as the inmates weren't out there at the same time.
Right, okay.
And then I think you also discussed maybe a program with IFAS for, what'd you call it?
Oh, the composting.
The composting,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
UF is gonna, they'd like to work with us too, if they could use a little piece of that, as part of their donation and stuff, where they could do a local composting to help some local farmers work on that.
That's a good idea as well. All right.
Sounds great.
What do you want to waive?
Yeah, just a wave, and then I think we'll fine tune this as we go forward and figure out a more accurate footprint. I think we had some good points brought up today. So thank you for bringing this forward. I'm excited for the future.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
all.
Great presentation. All right, let's go back up to item A, our fee schedule. Administration,
Mr. Chairman, I think we'd hammered out everything on this fee schedule except for that one issue, and that one issue was basically that I didn't want to charge for residential grinder pumps. I think that it should be part of doing business. The people pay us $50 a month for sewer, and I don't think that we should, and I don't think that we've intended any part of this fee schedule, any raise that we've done, to be considered as a fine. But if somebody's grinder pump goes out and it's not their doing, that they didn't make it go out, we just fined them $2,000 because they were unfortunate enough for their pump to go out. Now, I had a conversation the other day with a friend of mine, and he told me that if her mother's sewer had gone out of her house, then she'd have to go fix it. The difference is her mother ain't paying the county to furnish her sewer. We are. We're getting people, we're wanting people to hook up to our sewer. That's a big difference to me. So y'all do what you want to do, but I think you're hurting people that we're not intending to hurt by making them pay for a grinder pump, especially if they're living paycheck to paycheck and they're unfortunate enough that their grinder pump goes out, and it's a minor cost of doing business to the county. There ain't many of these going out, but it's a major cost to a family, having to put $2,000 in a grinder pump, even if we let them pay it over a period of a year. Bother me? No, I can write a check for it, because I don't live check to check, and I don't scratch to buy groceries. But there's people that are on our system that do every single week, and we need to have some empathy for them when we're raising these fees. So y'all do whatever you want to do, but I'm not going to vote for making the citizens do residential pumps. Just not going to do it.
Commissioner Wilkinson.
Thank you, Commissioner Turner. I'm not quite in agreement with you on that. In doing some research, it looks like that grinder pumps can last up to 20 years, but could fail sooner, obviously, and the average lifespan is about 10 years. So currently we have approximately 800 of those online. So in a 10-year span, they're going to fail eventually. Something's going to happen. Every pump that's ever been in a septic tank has failed at some point or another. It has a lifespan. So the concern I have is that when you have 800 current pumps in place and we're going to be expanding that facility to add more grinder pumps. I mean, that's a $1.6 million expenditure that we could have in this county for a future board. And so I get where you're coming from, and I'm always for helping those people. But, on our fee schedule, it had actual cost plus admin. I'd be willing to waive the admin part of it. I'd be willing to set up some kind of payment plan for those who couldn't afford it. I'd be willing to put in a maintenance agreement into the program or something so that we're made whole. And I do agree with the person who said when you're at home and your pump goes out, whether it's in your well or septic, that's for us as individuals. I mean, I got a guy that works for me right now who does not have a well. His well is gone out and he can't afford it. It's $8,000. The county's not going to furnish him a well. So, I think for me, it's always about being equitable. And so I just have a hard time for the other citizens in the community that are on well and septic to have to cover that's $2,000 today for a pump. In 10 years, that pump can be a lot more than it is today. So for me,
Then
when
why don't we raise the fee $2 and pay for it ourselves?
that's what I need, some kind of math. That's exactly right. If
I'm
there's
good
some,
with that.
you know, whatever that would come out to be.
Sorry.
You're okay, you're okay. Mr. Adams?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about worried about the people that are hooked up to the sewer. The majority of the people live in this county don't have any access to sewer or water, and they've been funding it for decades. So what about those people? At this point, I think that all costs need to be covered by the people receiving the services, and I'm for it the way it's written.
Did they ever figure out how many pumps are average a year?
The amount of pumps that we're averaging a year, is that your question? Since we put them in, and now keep in mind, that the system went in 2015. And I think we've replaced 5 or 6 pumps since 2015, but that's less than 10 years old. So, I mean, we're getting up to where it's going to be the end of a life cycle here pretty soon. So I think that'd be a fair question, 10 years from now, is how many did you replace that were 10 years old? I mean, we don't even have, the system doesn't have 10 years on it yet.
Do we know what? I'm sorry.
Wait, Commissioner Adams? Okay, Commissioner Turner?
I get it. I absolutely get it. But also, I guess I'm not communicating well in the devastation that we're going to put on somebody's life if their grinder pump just happens to be unlucky enough to go out. I can't express that devastation to have a $2,000 fine put upon them because their grinder pump went out. They've had 5 of them go bad in the last 9 years. I understand they're 9 years old, but they've had 5 go bad. So they have 1 go bad or 2 next year, whatever. I'm all fine for adding another $2 to it and making that fund separate to where it goes to pay for grinder pumps. I'm okay with that. But what I'm not okay with is ruining somebody's life because they're unfortunate enough to lose their grinder pump. That's the part that I'm not for.
All right, may I say something before we go to Commissioner Adams? I think that when we look at residential septic, which I'm on, I take care of my septic tank. Every month I put additive in there. I make sure we don't pour grease down the drain. There's things that you do on private residence that you don't normally would do there. When I first got here, I complained about these grinder pumps, and I said, we're out there promising people all these grinder pumps, and one day they're going to go bad. And the citizens of Putnam County are going to have to step up and make it right. But again, no one bought my last water pump. No one's buying your worker's well. No one's buying the septic tank down the road that needs to be. I know they're not paying anybody, but those people are subsidizing these people, and I do think we got to find a common ground to make that work. Commissioner Adams,
They're paying their electric bill, they're paying to have the original septic installed. To have a septic and well installed on a property now is at least $25,000 out the door, so that it's actually cheaper for them to hook the sewer. And and now there's mandatory pumps on the septic system. So it's not even like you can have a septic system without a pump. So every other citizen that's putting in a new septic system is having a pump in their yard. So everyone has the same level of risk. So in my opinion, just the group that's larger has been subsidizing the smaller group for a long time.
that's all my life.
So if you added $2, what are we talking about?
I don't know.
$2 per month per resident to put in a fund to pay for them when they go out is that what you're talking about, as you mentioned?
Well, if it's I don't know what the math is, but if it's a $2,000 grinder pump over a 10-year period, it's not $2 a month. I mean, I guess somebody needs to help with that, but I don't have a problem with us covering the labor. I don't have a problem with covering the admin fee. I'm just having a problem with the $2,000 that's today, but in the future, we all know that the cost of goods is going to go up. So, again, $2,000, do we have 800 pumps out there, 780, something like that?
I think it's total, we have 780 on the system. There's 481 grinder pumps currently in place today with the expansion of septic sewer phase 4 coming, which will all have additional grinder pumps.
Okay, so again, 780, a 10-year life, it's just the math doesn't work for me because that's a $1.6 million expenditure in the
So
future.
what you're saying is that to make the citizen buy the pump, but we don't charge them any labor percentage, admin, or whatever.
Yeah,
If their
just the
pump goes
actual
out,
cost.
we just charge them the actual cost of the part that goes out.
Yeah,
Over a
that would
period
be-
of time.
And I
And
would,
they can pay over a period
they
of
would have an
2
option.
or 3 years.
Yes, sir, they would either have an option to pay it, or if they wanted to divide it up into a,
I'll go along with that.
All right, so that, I think we fell down at that. I think we're all good with that.
As long as they can pay a payment of, whatever it takes them to get it done over a period of several years, and as long as they're only paying for the cost of the parts.
that's what I would propose.
And everything
Not what-
else is,
That's not what this says now.
and everything else is provided by the county.
That's correct.
The hookup, admin, everything else.
Right.
That's what I would propose.
If you guys can just, I'm going to rewrite the fee schedule for the final meeting that we have. The only thing I need clarity on, so that there's no gray area, is what is the maximum years? Is it 2 or 3 that you would allow that individual to finance it over?
Up to a maximum of 5.
I don't have a problem with that. We're going to recoup it, so it doesn't bother me.
That's
Can you
fine.
get a vote? Because this is, I've got to get this fee schedule done this time.
I move, Mr. Chairman, I move that the citizen pays for the cost of the parts of the grinder pump on residential. Now, I'm not talking about commercial, that
Yes, sir.
stays the same. On residential, they pay for the cost of the parts needed to fix it, and they can finance those parts up to a maximum of 5 years. They
I would
might
agree
want
with
to do
that.
it less,
No interest?
no interest.
Okay, I'll second that, but I do have a question.
Okay, we have proper motion, second discussion, Mr.
Okay, I know that we have talked about this, is that some are user error. Where are we with user error if it keeps having items in there that are just not supposed to be put down into this grinder pump?
I don't know if we can determine.
Determine that? Okay.
I think we just fall down on the fact that people need to use it the right way and hope they do.
So if they're buying the parts now,
Yeah,
then they might decide that they want to pour a little less grease down their grinder pump, or they might want to take a little better care of it after they buy their first one.
I agree.
Now that we're
Okay,
doing
I'm good.
Okay, we got proper motion, second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Julianne, you got the proper
Mr.
verbiage?
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that we pass the fee schedule as just amended.
Good deal. We got a proper motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
You got to
It's
bring
going to
that
come
back.
back.
Just gotta
Because
bring
you've
it
got to
back.
have a clean ordinance.
Okay.
Okay.
Will you withdraw
Apologize.
your motion?
Yeah, I
Appreciate it.
withdraw.
Okay, so,
That's the problem with workshop. We can't seem to do business in a workshop.
we're doing it. We're
I think
going to
we're
get
doing
it.
good.
Okay, so next item is our administration budget discussion on the holdback. Last year, we all got $200,000 per district to use.
No, sir. We did not take the $200,000 out of holdback. That came out of general
That's
fund
two different
reserves.
discussions.
I'm sorry.
Now you can keep going.
So last year, we all got $200,000 per district out of general fund reserve.
Well, that's the next item, sir.
Yeah, that's,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the holdback.
No.
No,
that's the
the
commissioner
commissioner
project funds.
project.
Yep,
fund.
you're right. Okay. So the holdback right now is $575,000. We had $1.575 million, and we moved $1 million over to transportation fund to make that whole. So that leaves us with $575,000. Now, at the last insurance meeting, it was discussed that we were going to be short, Julianne, how much we, 200 and,
205, 855.
855.
The
okay.
balance of 370,694.
So I believe Mr. Turner made that suggestion in that meeting, and I support that. Mr. Turner, you have a,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think what Julianne's looking for today is that was only a suggestion in that meeting, and she needs us to say what we're actually going to do instead of just making that suggestion. So basically, the holdback was 20%. We had to take $1 million of it and use it to balance the reoccurring expenses at Public Works, because they were 1.9 million short of making that fund whole, and so we had to do that. We we ended up having an $8 million true-up, and we had to take $1.8 million of that and use it for health insurance. But then when the reinsurance or stop loss, depending on what you call it, came forward, it was a $205,855 increase from last year. That money wasn't budgeted.
Right.
So the proposal was, or the suggestion was, is we would take that 205,855 out of what some of the money that's left out of after we took the $1 million out of the 20% holdback. And that's not just the board side of this. That's 205,000 is everybody's. That's everybody's reinsurance. That's the clerk, the sheriff, that's everybody's reinsurance. So it's not like we're just paying it on ours. We're paying the 20% holdback for all the constitutional employees as well as ours. So with that in mind, I move that we take the $205,855 shortfall on the reinsurance or stop loss, whichever you want to call it, and move it over into the proper fund
Insurance fund.
to fund that shortfall.
Second.
We have a proper motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Good deal.
Chairman,
Yes.
before you move on, does the board have any direction on the remaining funds and how they would like them utilized?
I don't want them utilized for anything just yet. Let them sit there as part of a reserve.
Yeah, I think I'm good right now.
I don't disagree. I think with what we've got going on with Public Works and all of the work that we're doing in the county, we have a lot of needs.
No problem. I just wanted to get clarity on it. It'll sit there.
Okay, good. Moving right now, the next one is on page 57, is our Commissioner Project Fund. Last budget year, we were able to take $1 million out of general fund reserve. Every commissioner got $200,000 to do capital projects in their district. And,
Anywhere, not just in your district.
yeah, we could split it around, but as long as it was capital projects inside the county. So, so my question is, does the board want to continue that and roll it over into the next fiscal year?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
the current funds need to roll over.
Right.
If you haven't spent your discretionary funds yet, then they need to roll over. I would have spent mine if I knew we were going to put the rules on it, but I was holding off to spend that money on something that's dragging around, the Duns Creek boat ramp. I already put 80,000 in, but I've got another 60, I believe it is, and that was what I was trying to put that towards. I put some money in Pico Road. As everybody in the Pico Road boat ramp, as everybody knows, Pico Road boat ramp more than likely is not going to be fixed before I'm out of here. I don't think it's fair for me to take my discretionary dollars and try to make something better and then it not roll over or move forward after after the year ends. I also don't want to be faced with the prospect that I've got between now and October 1st to go spend that other 60,000. So I just don't think that's good. So this commissioner would like to see them roll forward. And as I said, I believe it was at the last meeting, I'm not going to vote for another 200,000. Let them guys vote on it. If they want the 200,000, which I think is a wonderful thing, by the way, but anyhow, let them vote on it. It's money that they need to deal with. But I don't think the money that we've got should not roll over all the way. And if it's not spent yet, I think it should be spent on whatever we decide to leave that money to do.
Is that your motion?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that also, because I definitely, with some of this, I've been holding off. I only have about 50,000 left, but I've got projects that I'd like to do, but won't get them done before October. So, yeah, it needs to roll over at least till we're out of here, so.
All right. Do we need a motion, or do you
You're just looking for
consensus?
direction.
Okay,
I'm good.
thank you. Moving right along. Animal Services, Animal Control, Spay and Neuter, Portable Trailer.
Mr. Chairman, could I speak a little bit before I waste
I
everybody's
hope so.
time here?
I hope so, sir.
Look, somehow or another, this got all messed up. I'm just gonna be the first to say it.
I agree.
We agreed to give them the money if they got the grant.
Yes, sir.
When it came in last time, they didn't have their business plan, they didn't have all the other private funds and the other people like they have now. This commissioner, and I'm only speaking for myself, I don't care if they get the money as long as it's going towards the trailer. My concern is that we would give them the money and the money wouldn't be spent on a trailer, it would be spent on something else if they didn't get their funds. That's not the deal now. The deal is they got their money, they've already, and the only thing holding them back is our money that we already agreed to give them back whenever. It's just the only thing that's changed is that they funded it other than through a grant, but our money haven't changed a bit. Mr. Chairman, I move that we change that fact, and we give them the $25,000 that we'd already agreed to, as long as that it goes towards the cost of the trailer.
I'll
Second.
second that with comment.
Okay, I have a comment too. I wanted this to happen, so I appreciate Commissioner Turner and Commissioner Pickens, Commissioner Wilkinson already. I do want the services for us, for Putnam County. So other than that, I don't care. So Commissioner Pickens?
Yeah, and we've had many conversations recently, as late as Monday on this, and I was a little surprised the last conversation, but you didn't have the money then, right? Okay, you weren't going to get it from the USDA or whatever it was, and you didn't have it. You had a plan to go out and ask the city of Crescent City, Pomona Park, Willaca, Interlochen, and the city of Palaca. So you see that you went out, you did what you said you were going to do, and now you're back. This is the result I was hoping for. I know from the expression on Jenny's face, this is the result that you were looking for. I wanted to make sure that our money, the county's money, the citizens' money, was the last money. Everything else was in place, and it is. I think this will be a great addition, and I hope it continues for years and years. And one thing they did say, this is for Putnam County, okay? Even though it originated in District 1 or the South, it's for the whole county to be able to offer these services and to work with animal control for a problem that continues to grow. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Adamczak, you have a comment?
When we talked about the original time, we talked about having a number of spayed and neuters per year. Do we still need to put some requirement on the money? Because that was the only thing that wasn't in the motion, or are we just going to go with the requirements we stated last time?
It's in their business plan, though, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
That they
Yeah.
included,
Okay.
so it is in their business plan.
Is that good enough? I guess that's the question I'm asking.
It's, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That-
we'll get it all vetted through legal as we prepare the budget amendment and everything that they need, and make sure that we bring back to you guys the whole package of approval.
Commissioner
Thank you,
Wilkinson?
ladies.
I just want to say that, I have been down to the ARC Rescue Facility twice already. These ladies and their group is very vested. They have property, they have a building. They're not going anywhere. They have a board, they have a very active board, and this is exactly what we need in Putnam County, just the beginning. I mean, we need more than that, but this is the beginning, and the fact that we can have a mobile trailer that goes around the county and services some of the most rural areas is going to be, just astronomical in what we can do for our pets in Putnam County. So thank you for your tenacity, thank you for not giving up, and thank you for bringing this forward.
Call for question.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you. All right, Brian. Usually I don't let public outbursts, but I'm happy with that one. So, all right, so we're good. Brian, next item is Animal Services update.
Yes, sir. So, again, I'm just coming to you guys, giving you kind of a 10,000-foot view of what's happening and kind of getting in the trench a little bit. But this is just information I'm bringing to you guys. So on the 29th, when I submitted this, it has changed a little bit since then, but we're still over capacity with the animals that we have there. Sitting at 114 dogs that are there, and again, we only have 54 spots. So the longevity of this happening with my staff is hard on them, because it's different than cleaning the kennel out, right? When you pull a cage out and have to clean that out, it's hard on my staff. So, and even going to the new shelter, we're only going to have 88 spots, 114. 88 would probably help too, because even with the 54, you can put multiple dogs in certain kennels, and, there is room for expansion, but as a whole, we have lots of crates and lots of stuff that's happening with that. So that was one of the things I was going to bring to you all. Also in your packet, it also, go ahead.
Brian?
You want to go through all of it, and then,
No, I just want to make a statement.
go ahead.
The whole idea of the new animal services building, and if you go back to when Carl Beck had the vision of having this, one was to get it out of the landfill area.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's horrendous out there. One was to have a new facility that really looked like we cared something about. I mean, we have to deal with what we got, and it took a long time to build this. But Mr. Beck's vision was for people to come to a new facility and adopt animals at a faster pace. So I realize, and I've always said we're going to be over capacity the day we open, but hopefully we'll get the adoption going quickly and get that moved out. So maybe we won't be so overcrowded. But I do think a new building, we're going to have to give it a chance to do what Mr. Beck wanted to be done, and that was to see that rotate pretty quick. You've heard me say, I wish we weren't in the animal services business. I wish everybody took care of their pets the way I took care of mine and how most pet lovers take care of their animals. But it doesn't work that way. And we have to have something. But I do believe this new building is going to help us get these pets adopted faster and faster and faster.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes,
you're
sir.
ready.
I agree, and I'm just bringing information to you all that was kind of asked me to bring. So the next thing in here, I talk about how I do meet with the Animal Welfare League. Jenny and them, I meet with them multiple times. We have lots of discussion, probably once or twice a month, something in there, right? Somewhere in there, we kind of have an active thing where I meet with them, and they have a lot of things that they're implementing. One being it's almost at the forefront of Putnam Pals it's a new website that's going to have our dogs in there to be able to get more dogs out. And there's a variety of things, and it's in your packet. Any of that you have questions on, I can provide any answers with that. But there's a lot of things happening with that I do think it's going to be very beneficial to that. Also, I just want to give you all kind of a little bit of a heads up. I have spoken with the University of Florida, and we had the very beginning meeting in trying to do a spade and neuter inside the facility. We moved our cats outside, and that was for some other reasons, but there's space in there that we might try to make that a place where we can have surgical visits done. I have, at the beginning of stages, I have a second meeting. They're going to come out and see the facility. I sent them blueprints, and so we're in the very, very beginning stages, but I think that would be wonderful, even if, not just for them, but if we had vets come in, they could come in and give shots, and lots of stuff we can do there as a resource. So just want to give you all kind of a heads up with that. I think that's going to be wonderful for the community and for the animal control itself. But then the last thing I know we have a lot of things that we're implementing and we're starting to do, but the grind that's out there on my staff, I'm concerned with just as a whole. And I know the new facility is coming, and when they got to hold on to get there, but we still got work this afternoon, right? So that's really what I was kind of called here to do, and just for y'all to have that discussion, and then I'm here for questions, anything that you have.
I really want you to explain the foster program.
And
I think
that's one of my takeaways for that. So the foster program, I did have legal look at it very from up high, so he kind of gave me the thumbs up. We'll get it checked off with him, and that would be something we push out through our website, through different sides. So if someone feels, I can't take on this dog forever, right, but I can take it on for a certain period of time. So I have my personal dog. I have a German Shepherd that's 130 pounds, so I could take another one, and they would be okay for a while. My wife might divorce me, but I could take it for a while. And then if we know we have a German Shepherd at Brian's house, Kathy comes in, I need a German Shepherd because a certain person wants that dog. Hey, Kathy calls me, hey, here you go. There you go, your foster goes out. So I think that's going to be a wonderful program. If you guys give me the okay on that, that's also in there.
I think
And
it's a
if you guys can approve that too. That's one of the takeaways is the foster program that I wanted to get the takeaway from that. So anything else that you guys have, I'm here for questions. I have Kathy here. She's the work hound of this anyway.
Commissioner
So
Wilkinson has some comments or
Go ahead, Nay.
Well, my first question is, I see people are concerned that we're not having adoption events, and it always burns me a little bit because I see that you are having adoption events. So can you please give us an update on the adoption events that you've been holding? How often do we have them? I know that our staff are way overwhelmed, but at the same time, I also know that we are still holding adoption events on the weekends.
We are. So the last 2 weekends we went to, it was Pet Sense, correct?
Sense.
Pet Sense.
Done 2 weekends prior ago, and then we did one the weekend before last weekend, and then I'm going to do another one this weekend because we
And so also we work with other programs, so we'll give them like 2 dogs, they'll take it to their event for us. So it's still an adoption that comes out. So on average, it's about 2.1 dogs. We did between 14 to 17 events between May and June. And you got to see there's not that many weekends. So we're in multiple areas, multiple times. Again, my staff is working lots and lots of overtime. I sign off on a lot of it because I think it's very important. And so we do participate in a lot of events that we have out there, but because this last weekend it was rainy, so we didn't get a lot. But the weekend before we had, what, 7?
had 5 the weekend before, and we just had 4 this past weekend.
Yeah, so it's a constant, but again, when we get out 4, we get in 12. So it's, and they can, and behind me can preach on that too, but we are constantly doing those and look forward to doing that. And I kind of want to do kind of a grand opening of this, the new shelter once we get that, an actual date, hard date. I would love to do something like that. You'll see that coming to you, but again, that's still preliminary.
Right,
with all
right.
that.
So, and I appreciate the foster program. I know Mayor Watson took a mom and some pups down in South Putnam, down in Willaca area, and the difference is those pups were able to be raised in a loving environment versus a cage without that daily contact with humans. And so I recognize that that's part of putting, good animals out in the community that are going to be, not vicious, but actual good dogs. And so I also have looked through through this recommendations from the Animal Welfare League. There's a lot of great ideas. So how do you see some of these things going forward? Are you looking for the board to go through these, or are you just wanting to, what do you want?
So really what I was looking to do is give you all the information, for y'all to process the information, because it is quite a bit. So,
Yeah, there's
and
a
some
lot.
of the things that are in there, like it's going to take funding for some of them. No, some of it's a lot, some of it's not a lot. Some of it's just a little bit, some of it's time, right? So based off what's there, what y'all saw would be the biggest bang for your buck. Kind of looking and working with that. And I know Ms. Wilkinson, you've gone to those meetings with us and you've been there. So I kind of just want to give you the information. That's really what I was tasked with in doing. So there's a lot of great ideas and working with that. But again, it's where you guys want to see that. And so I think this is a good starting point, and that's what this really was for me, is a starting point to say, okay, this is what we got. We are working. They're working really, really hard to get these dogs out, but just to give you all the information.
What is it that we can do? I mean, I know you were asking for the approval of the implementation of the foster program. Is there anything else that we can do as a board immediately that we're not already doing that would help animal services at this time?
I think as a whole, so how to nail that down. So it's like putting nail and jello to the wall.
Right.
So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of moving parts with it. It's not just dogs coming in, it's dogs coming out. It's transportation for the dogs coming out. So there's a lot of different factors. I think if I have something where I know I need transportation for this weekend to say, okay, I'm going to need overtime for this. Are you guys good for that? I mean, things like that will come about. But as for me to say, I have to ask of this. My big thing was the foster thing. I think that's a great thing. I wanted to get okay, and I didn't think that would be a slam dunk. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot in regards to that because I wasn't really prepared for that. But I definitely
appreciate
can
that.
bring something back. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, I move to approve the implementation of the foster program.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Mr. Adamczyk, you have a question?
Yeah, no, did you have anything further on possibly the transportation out of the area conversation that we had offline a
You're
couple
saying like
months ago?
to take dogs out of the state?
Yes,
and all of
yes.
that? Yes.
Where there is a need for dogs and I think we found out it would cost around $250 per dog. I know that sounds expensive, but when we have a dog that we're feeding for 6 to 8 months, it's a wash. And then it also clears up space. So, I mean, how would we, I guess this is more for Julianne, how would we fund something like that where, let's say we found someone that's willing to transport 6 dogs? What's the mechanism that we would do that? Would we put a pool of money in for transporting dogs, and then as it came up, I guess, because it's not, the transporters don't always have room to transport, but if there's a transporter that has room and approaches and says, hey, we could fit 3 dogs to go to New York or wherever they go, we should get them out.
It would all be for the board to allocate a dollar certain for that purpose, and we would set up an expense code And when it is expended, it's expended. They could transfer as many out as they had funding to do.
So you can't take them to the post office and put a label on them?
They frown upon
There's
that.
people that are running dogs all the time for that same exact purpose. I mean,
Well, didn't they used to ship kids like that, right, on the train back
it's in a movie, I think.
years
we were
ago?
watching.
They did. I mean, back in, yeah. The post office did it.
We've progressed.
How many times do you watch Snow Pups? I mean, is it?
I think it's a great idea. Brian, can I say something to you? Sure. It's been a long time since we've had a director stand there with the excitement that you just produced, and I will tell you that. And it's exciting to see that, you know, the building's coming, new plans are coming. This Foster thing is amazing to me. I'm just excited, Kathy. I know you've been through the trenches for years, and you're finally starting to see. I know you're anxious to get moved into your new home, but it'll be here soon, so, you know, but it's exciting to see what we're going to do for the animals of Putnam County.
And I have one other comment is, as far as the animal adoption things, I mean, 3 of our 4 dogs at our house were adopted by my wife from Animal Services at adoption events. So they do get people there. They do them at, Deep Creek, you've done a couple. So, I mean, they are trying to hit other parts of the county too, so it's not just Palaca-centric. So
Yeah,
that's
they'll-
the part that's really good about it when we are able to do it, and we have the manpower to do
Yeah,
it.
and they're willing to go just about anywhere
Yeah.
that we can get dogs out, so.
She almost got my wife to do another one, though, last time they were at
Well,
Deep
now you
Creek.
can foster, so that may lead to another adoption. That's the other side of that, so.
Commissioner Wilkinson has another.
I just wanted to comment, I know part of what Kathy does in her spare time, because I've seen her on Facebook at 9 o'clock at night, is finding the animals that are lost with their owners. And so we see that a lot, and that helps prevent those animals from having to come into the shelters. And so, Kathy, thank you for spending your personal time to do that, but I have seen people, hey, where's this dog, or I lost my dog, or I found this dog, and you are truly one of the people, and there's plenty others in this room, that are trying to make that connection so that those dogs don't end up out at Animal Services. So personally, thank you.
You know, along those lines, years ago, I had a Labrador that, I always have a Labrador, right? But he went over 2 blocks by the school, and my pastor took him to the shelter, right, and turned him in. And I said, man, I'm looking for my dog. Well, I just turned in a black, you know, and I went, that's my dog, don't do it. So he just got out and wandered the neighborhood, and, you know, but thank you.
Brian, with the adoptions that y'all are having and the success of them, how are you promoting that? Is it Facebook or webpage and stuff? 'Cause I think that's one thing that we're lacking is we get the bad press. There's no question. From Jacksonville, you know, all over, Palaca News, and they have to report. But the successes of an adoption, or say talking about this fostering program when it starts and gets going, those are some things that I truly need to be advertised, because we are doing things that I think maybe get unnoticed, and we just get kind of talked about with the bad stuff. So
Yes, sir, and we're in the process of doing, part of AWL that they're working on is kind of having those testimonies, and so we're in the process of pulling citizens who've had adopted, you know, an animal from us, or, you know, a shelter type of area, and they'll give a little testimony, so they know they're real people, and they're not just, oh, we're adopting dogs. So we're in the process of doing that. I agree with you. We have to be a better job in being diligent with that. So I agree definitely that. We're in the process of doing that, because I have some names for that we're going to pull some, and so some of those might be called on that had adopted dogs, might have to have that too. But but I do agree with you. We do got to do a better job with that. We do post on social media and different events, and you know, like we'll tag on to everything. But you're right. There's something we can be a little better at with that. Yes, sir.
thank you.
Truly, this board has paved the way for the incoming board to be better at animal services. So thank you so much. Next item, a broadband update.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wilkinson, you want to take that? No, I don't. Okay, I'll take it. Last week, for the listening audience and our public,
I want to take a break for a minute.
yeah, I'll give you all a minute. We're going to take a 2-minute break. We're going to talk about broadband. Mr. Ritchie, you're the head of our local technology planning team. And myself and Commissioner Wilkinson at different times last week was called in to a local company. So I'll let you tell what we're up to with that company and also with our last local technology planning team meeting.
For sure. So we, James Ritchie, IT Director, LTPT Chairman, thank y'all for a few minutes for the broadband update. We did meet with a local company here in town, looking into applying for the BEAD grant application. They're still in the steps to secure that funding, hear back from the state and all that. There's a long process of all of the I won't say hoops you got to jump through, but the application process and the data that has to be analyzed and submitted to the state and for underserved and locations within Putnam County. We'll say this, that if this particular player in the game now does succeed in that, a huge portion of underserved citizens in multiple counties, for that matter, will be served for sure. Biggest thing is infrastructure. You know, fiber in the ground is what's really needed. It's the future proof. We do have, there's obviously the Starlinks and the things in the rural areas, and that's really what this particular company is wanting to jump into, is the rural areas. And so we're looking forward to having updates from them to see what happens with the BEAD funding. In reference to our last LTPT, Local Technology Planning Team meeting, we had Comcast and some other ISP players, AT&T,
Cox.
we had, and Cox Media, or Cox Communications rather. They were at, and we had some, to be completely honest, and I was very direct with them from the chairman's position on the team. I asked them if we had any fiber in Putnam County going in the ground from the applications that they have been awarded. And they said that they're in the middle of contracting with the state and their legal department getting with another legal department. And I was, to be completely forward and transparent, I was rather frank. I'm like, we have spent almost 3 years on this team, and we are in desperate need in Putnam County for fiber infrastructure in the ground, putting fiber, making rural America, rural Putnam, I'll say that, rural Putnam, to have fiber connectivity, internet connectivity. And Mr. Chairman has always said from the very beginning, everyone has access, but is it reliable, affordable, dependable for that matter. And we are, as a team, working diligently with these ISPs and trying our best to get fiber internet, or internet in general, to the rural counties. I live in rural Putnam County, and I'll put it to you this way: my daddy, he lives at the end of the world, and you take a right, and you go another little bit past, and there he is. And there is no tie. He has Starlink, and it works for him, and it's a great solution for those who don't have fiber access. But the fact of the matter is, we're looking to put these dollars for these ISPs that they're getting through these grant programs in the ground, and we're pushing pretty hard for that in our team.
And this local company really just wants, when that time comes, is the support letters from this board and the local technology
Absolutely.
planning team. We always said that if one of these companies would step up, they would serve half of the citizens of Putnam
Sure
County.
would.
And so we were very excited to get that presentation.
We were very much so. It was certainly a great step forward in the broadband initiative here in Putnam County, for sure.
I have one comment. I did speak with Representative Payne. I've been speaking with him about this, and I did speak with him again today. And he said that he has had contact with Comcast and Cox, and while they want to say it's being held at the state, that's not necessarily true. However, he's going to make sure that the new senator and the new state representative will continue to push on their end whenever, they're back in session and during committees.
Wonderful. That's very encouraging to me, for sure. And when we do schedule our next LTPT meeting, we'll definitely bring that up for sure. And that's like I said earlier, it's a very positive direction for Putnam County in the broadband space.
Yeah.
It really, really is.
It just
Mr.
can't
Adams?
happen fast enough for us.
You're not wrong.
So there is a vendor in West Putnam that's going out Gordon Chapel from 20 out to Star Lake Community. I don't know if it's the same vendor, I don't know if we're not naming names, but they're putting 1 gig out there, and they're doing it, I don't believe they got a dime of the government money.
Wow.
So I really think we need to challenge these companies that got the money, that are much bigger than this outfit, to step up, because, and I'll say the same thing I said before, I'll sign it for any company that's actually going to do the work, but at this point, I don't think I would sign it for one of the companies we signed for before, because the work isn't done, just like you said, in 3 years. There's several that I signed individually, separate from the commission, because I wanted to see the proof in the pudding. The prior people we signed for didn't provide the proof in the pudding except Starlink, but Starlink really provided it for everybody, and
Right.
it's a different animal altogether.
Yes, sir.
But that company's doing it on their own,
Right.
and I think they feel like they're going to be profitable. So,
Yep, I agree. Any more? Good, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Just wanted that update. Mr. Helms, Planning and Development Impact Fee update?
Good afternoon. So, very short and sweet with this, just kind of giving you guys an update. So we are in the process of getting all the information uploaded. I know, Mr. Harvey, you were on some of the meetings that we've had with some of that. And so they're processing the data now to give us back to say how they want to split it up and what the impact fee will be. But it's going to take 4 to 5 months once they get everything uploaded. So we are still in the process. It's not just one area, it's multiple areas. You have sheriffs, you have different areas that are missing information. And so once we get that in there, it is a very extensive of the information that they have to have. And so we are working very hard and very diligently to give them that information. And then once they get it all, it'll be between 4 to 5 months. And then the study will be given back to us, and we will present it back to you so you guys can look over it and make movements where y'all would like to do that, or even if we want to go down that. So,
Go ahead.
sir, go ahead.
Chances are nothing can really happen with it anyhow until next budget season. So as long as you have the stuff in place to make the decision by the spring or very early summer, then it shouldn't hamper y'all from being able to do what you decide to do.
Well, what we learned is it doesn't really need to follow the budget season at all. It's something on its own at that point. So, and one of them was a 90-day moratorium on
Everything but utilities has to stay within
everything
the-
but utilities.
Yes, sir.
Utilities can immediately, so what we asked the contractor the other day was basically, if you can get us a product back by March or April or May, then we can impose that pretty soon if we're going to go down that route and have it ready around the time of a new fiscal year. But we're pretty much assured that we can get something back. So I appreciate the efforts that Zach and you and everybody is putting in on that.
Public Works, Sheriff's Office, everybody's kind of chipping in because it does affect everybody, so.
Commissioner Wilkins?
I have some concerns on the timing. When I look at the Florida statute, 163.31801, it says the new study must be adopted by the local government within 12 months of the initiation of the new impact fee study, if the local government increases the impact fee. So,
And that was a concern, and we talked to Rich in depth about that. So Rich, you want to answer that?
yeah, I would like for you to weigh in on that, please.
So at least what it appears from the legislative intent as to why they created that 12-month time period, the idea is that they don't want local governments using dated information to form the basis by which the impact is analyzed or assessed. I think when we first went out to retain the services of the consultant that's helping us do this, candidly, we jumped the gun a little bit. There was a number of pieces of information that we really should have put together ourselves. We didn't realize that they'd be asking for. So that information has taken them some time to look through before they actually get to the analysis point. So administratively, the decision's made to, we need to retain them from the point where at least we have the package of information to get them for analysis so that we can stick within that 12-month period.
So does the contract date create the initiated date? Because if the contract was executed on March 12th, does that mean we have to have
we're going to reinitiate the contract after we get all the information
Okay,
together.
that
for
makes
them.
sense. Okay, thank you. That was my question, because I had, concern about that being.
Well, we kind of got caught with that House bill that happened on us really quick, so, but we're good. I think we got a plan going forward. Just wanted to let the board know that.
And then
Commissioner
the
Turner?
study is, I'm sorry, the study's good for 12 months after that? Or what's the time frame once we receive the study? Is there a time frame on that? Like how much?
I don't think so, because the way the statute's written, it has to be start to finish done within that 12-month period. So
That's what I was picking up.
if
Okay.
we get the study back, I would say like month 6, I think you only have 6 months to make a decision at that
Okay.
point.
Commissioner Turner?
We need to keep in mind here that when the county implemented impact fees many years ago, it was at a time of high growth, high expectations, just like we're in right now. It's highly possible that by the middle of next year, things aren't as rosy as they are right now on the growth front. It's just highly possible. So let's just keep in mind that this is not a slam dunk, that some of the new commissioners, I'm hoping will, and the existing commissioners will look at this on what needs to happen at the time, because the last thing we want to do is what they did last time around. They implemented impact fees at a time when they were necessary with rosy future and high growth projections and what have you. Then all of a sudden you wake up one morning, there's no growth going on. There's nothing happening. You had to put a moratorium on impact fees to try and get some growth going on in the last few years. So I understand right now it's rosy. We got a big boy knocking on our door and another one that's talking, from what I understand, on the developers. But that could all go away within a few month period if certain things happen. So I'm hoping that we understand that this isn't necessarily just a slam dunk that we're going to do this. It's look at the information, see if it's necessary. It could always be moratoriumed again if it needed to be, if the economy crashed or whatever.
That's right.
I'm not speaking against it. I just don't want it to be a slam dunk that it's going to happen, or the public that may hear this thinks it's going to slam dunk happen. It kind of needs to be from the information that comes from the report, and then the new commission would make that decision. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I kind of broke my promise at the beginning of this meeting. People are in the audience that want to speak. Do you want to speak about a certain thing that we've already talked about, or do you
I'm
want?
sure they raise their hand when they're ready,
Okay.
sir.
All right, well, we'll just keep moving along. Next item is our Planning Development Overlay District. Mr. Woodward, come on up.
Pretty confident this would have been the subject you want to speak.
Exactly.
Well, I made a promise in the beginning, and
And I appreciate you reiterating that promise, since I wasn't here in the beginning to hear. Michael Woodward, 517 South Francis Street, Interlochen. I don't claim to be an expert on impact fees, although I have been published on the subject a long time ago. To Mr. Turner's point, Commissioner Turner's point, excuse me, sir. Yeah, I've followed the history of impact fees in this county for quite a while now, and some of it's been kind of a sad history. And when times are tough, we look for anything that we can do to try to make them better. And one of the things that was done in that effort was to put the moratorium on impact fees. But I'd just like to remind everyone that, as far as I know, there's no evidence that impact fees do anything to slow growth or construction starts. Doing away with them didn't help. Putting them on didn't cause a slowdown. It just doesn't really seem to have much effect on that at all. Somewhere around 2011, Craig Sherrar actually looked at the data on impact fees, and he looked at what happened after the impact fees were imposed and after they were then put on a moratorium. And the only change he found when the impact fees went away, there was a very slight uptick in used mobile homes being brought into the county and permitted. But in terms of housing construction permits being pulled, that sort of thing, there just was no effect at all.
Thank you. That is great information. That's okay. Mr. Helms, next item on our overlay district. And the reason I wanted that on there is we've heard a lot lately about overlay districts in East Palaca, but they're all over Putnam County, correct?
Yes, sir.
So,
And so I think there could be, and so I'm going to give you my viewpoint of the overlay and how a PE coach can understand that. So let me just say that before I start off. So the overlay districts of our future land use, so we have our land use now, and then we have a future land use. The future land use is an overlay of that land, right? So the future, we think it's going to be blah. Does not mean we have to go to that. Does not mean that's mandatory. It means we think we're going to have this when we did the future land use. I know that was created in 1991. It was the very first one that they were done. And again, like Mr. Turner has said in the past, that it wasn't necessarily, we think development's going to come here. Now we have gone through them and done multiple updates to that. A overlay district, actually, I learned, my first learning of that was when I actually went to I was in a different state with my daughter's appointment, and we were in an area where you could have an open container. So that overlay district in that area, you could have an open container. You could walk from shop to shop, and, you know, it was downtown, it was real cute, and you could walk with an open container because the server told me that. I was like, I've never heard of that. So I looked it up, and that was my first interaction with it as a citizen. So it can be a variety of things. So you have future land use, you have land use, and then you have overlay districts. That's something you could put in. The commission, whoever's here, could say, we want development to happen in X. We're going to give them X to make them build there. And it could be a variety of things. I don't want to give you ideas, but it's a variety of things. I looked them up. It is from, you know, no taxes to this, or low impact to free hookups. There's a variety of things that they want development to happen. So I think there's a little hard of understanding with the two difference. It is an overlay, future land use is, but it's not necessarily what is there. So did that make more sense or make it worse for you?
I think it's good. Mr.
Okay.
Turner?
I think the biggest problem I have with overlay zones, or the problem that I don't have with overlay zones, depending on how you want to look at it,
Yes, sir.
is what you use them for.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't think it's easy to get rid of an overlay zone or to amend an overlay zone as it is to amend a future land use map. We looked at an overlay zone in East Palaca at one time, from the foot of the bridge to 207. We looked at implementing, because somebody came before the commission, since I've been here, somebody came before the commission and asked for a C4 on that piece of property. It used to be the oil place right there next door to Hitchcock's, or right in there by McDonald's, in there just to the other side of McDonald's from here. And we turned them down, and the reason why, they wanted to put a mobile home dealership there, and it was a C4, and it would have required a C4 zoning.
Yes,
And at the time, the commission said that they were going to try to keep C4 and industrial and the heavy stuff out of that corridor right along the foot of the bridge to 207. Well, when they started doing the research on that, they come to find out that it was, once you implement an overlay zone, it's a lot more difficult to unimplement an overlay zone. So it's kind of keeps you from doing things that you may want to do. And it's kind of like, when I sat on the planning commission many years ago, I had a gentleman that I had a lot of respect for. His name was John Turner. He was a survey here in Putnam County. He sat on that board with me, and he made the comment that you'd never want to build a sidewalk out of school. You want to go ahead and open the school, and then everywhere there's a path at the end of the school year, build a sidewalk there, because otherwise they're going to walk where they want to, whether there's a sidewalk there or not. And it's kind of the same situation. We don't know where growth is coming. We don't know what's going to be the perfect project to go in a certain area. And if we go in there and put an overlay zone on there other than the land use and other than the future land use and other than the zoning that's already required to help with safety in the area, and we put another layer of keeping somebody out, and it's a layer that's even more difficult to change than future land use is or the other, then it may keep somebody from coming here at all. They'll just go somewhere else. So we have the safety from the zoning, and we have the safety from the land, from the future land use map. And if we wanted to do an overlay zone for something along the lines, that didn't have anything to do with land use or what have you, such as an overlay zone that allowed you to drink downtown, or, when they shopped, or whatever, that's a totally different ballgame there. I have no issues with those kind of deals, but trying to basically hamstring future generations that sit up here at this dais over what we think would be a good thing to do right now, that's difficult for me to do.
Yes,
That
sir.
is
Yes, sir.
really
I totally
difficult.
understand that. When I have read about overlays and how they are done, it's when they have the infrastructure there. So if we had water and sewer all over the county, it would be different if you wanted to say, I need development here, so that's what they do. So again, you're right. It is hard to do that. And the future land use is very important. So when we say future land use, it is not just we're doing future land use. It has a lot of value. So, but yes, sir, you're right with that too.
Commissioner Adams?
Yeah, I think the most intriguing thing you said is the future land use doesn't mean we have to use it for that use.
It is.
That stands out to me, and that's been my stance since I've been on this board. I'm leaving in a couple months, but I had advised the other board coming in that they actually look at that instead of taking at face value that it's in our future land use, we should do it, and actually look at that when they make their decisions, because as much as I appreciate the board that I serve on, I think there's been several times where we made decisions based on future land use that we could have gone a different direction, and that's just my opinion and point. But yeah, overlays, I think we should have less, and I'm not for development coming in unless it's in specific areas. And I think we need to be tighter to our city centers and tighter to we don't have infrastructure almost anywhere, so we need to be tighter where the limited infrastructure we have is. And again, I voted no alone on the one development that was at the end of our infrastructure. We need to start from the beginning of our infrastructure and work our way out. So.
Yeah, and some of the overlays that we have in our county currently that I've been aware of, it's like I know Melrose has a historical overlay that's there, which is kind of different. But when I say it's a variety of things, it is a variety of things that you can
But
put with overlays.
Brian, when we were going through some of these, the mobile home park in East Palaca and the other one, we had people that actually stood up and said, this is what the previous boards did, and this is where they wanted these things to go. And I took very cautious approach to that, but we did spend a lot of money in those areas to bring water and sewer, even out to that other project by the fire department on 207. We got water and sewer there. Did we not expect right next door? Did we not expect? And I think that's what I heard from people is, this is what you planned for. Why are you now struggling with this? And when I go to regional meetings, from my understanding, Interlochen Lake Estates West Putnam has the most platted, undeveloped lots in the state of Florida. And if they ever really built out, look what we would cause out there to really take place. Now, I probably won't see it in my lifetime, but roads bring people, and so 17 north, 20 west, 207 east. I mean, we've got some major 4-lane roads.
Yeah, but
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, we need to keep in mind here that if you're not going to plan for future growth, you're sticking your damn head in the sand.
I agree with
Because
that.
it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming whether you plan for it or not. So yes, it's been planned for in the East Palaca Basin for a while, especially down a 4-lane highway. When we rewrote this last time around, when we redid the comp plan, we added urban service out on 17 North, just south of the county line, because if you don't think that growth is not going to encroach over into Putnam County, you're sticking your head in the sand. We've got landowners out there that bought property for no other reason than for this to happen when the time is right in the future. 3,000 acres of it. And so I'm just telling you right now that when that overpass that bypass gets finished up there and people can drive from the other end and get off right there on 17 North, people are gonna want to live in a different area than an Argyle Forest or wherever it is that the other options are. So I'm just telling you, I think that the county in the past has done a good job in trying to plan for areas of growth. Does it make everybody happy? No. But the one thing I've learned about being in this job is that you can't make everybody happy no matter how hard you try. So you've got to do what you think is right for the county and right for the citizens in the long term. I've had many, many more people come to me and tell about the deal in East Palatka and say that's what you needed to do, that's what it's been planned for years. I've had many more than came to here being upset about it. So there's just as many, if not way more people that understand that if we don't have some growth, we die.
That's right. And I think where I was going to out there in the West Putnam area, I attended a meeting in Jacksonville for a state agency to say, you know, we're concerned about this area because of water recharge for Cowpen Lake. And that was the first I heard about it. So we saddled up, went out there to the state agency and said, is it really a concern? Because if it is, we need to make some density changes now. I don't think it was that big of a concern. They just put it in their presentation. But, you know, again, I just wanted to have this conversation about what the overlays and where we're going to go in the future. Because I do believe people are going to find us. And they're going to get off that Outer Beltway Express. And I'm going to take it myself to bypass Jacksonville. And from our port to that Outer Beltway is going to be about 17 minutes. So you better figure that they're going to come down 17 and find us. And they already found us. And I'm glad they found us. We just need to try to find a balance, that's all. Any more discussion on overlay?
No.
Okay, I'm good. And the next thing on your agenda is, remember about, I think it was last January, I talked to Mr. Suggs, I talked to the board about getting our county inventory. Well, actually during this process of the impact fee study, we got that. So Mr. Suggs, I want to thank you for getting all that. We're still working on some of the leases, but these are our county-owned properties. And in your spare time, if you have nothing to do, you can type in all the parcel codes in your area and find out what we have. Because it's amazing. I think there's 498 pieces here. Was that right, Mr. Suggs? Something in that nature. So now some of them are just lots that we need to get back out on but some of them are finally we got a good list and we're going to be able to build on that list.
Well, I know that it's a big order, but if we could try to assign somebody to just start looking at them when they could, there is no spare time, but when they could, to start looking at them and trying to weed their way through them. Every month, I pay close attention to what tax deeds are coming up, and I track them down and where they are, and if I would be interested and what have you, and I go through the list, and almost every month I'll find a piece of property somewhere that I didn't know the county even owned. And it might be 12 acres or 16 acres, and a lot of it isn't drainage, and a lot of it isn't wetland, and a lot of it isn't things. It's just property that the county owns that unless Public Works or the staff or somebody could have a reason for owning it, we got no business owning that. We need to get it back out on the tax rolls in the plan that we've already been implemented for several years now, that I hope would carry on, into the new commission to try to get lands that the county doesn't need back into private hands.
And you find out some
I know there's some in here that, that could be looked at.
And you find some that you think you own, you don't own.
Yeah.
So, it's amazing, but we're getting through it. So I appreciate the efforts of staff. Commissioner Wilkinson?
I wasn't done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had one other thing that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention, just in case they didn't notice it, that on the insurance valuations on all this property, there's a lot of these properties that are valued at a lot more money than what we've got on them. For instance, if you look on page 115 of your packet, the first one on the list is, I think it's the courthouse, 323 St. John's Avenue. they did an asset survey value of $8,479,000, and we've got it insured for $1,686,000. So that's a shortfall if something was to happen to the courthouse of $6,793,000. Now, I'm an absolute advocate that you can't insure everything you got to full value because the insurance premiums would break you instead of something happening to it. But I don't know that that the county shouldn't take a look, especially on some of these bigger ticket items such as the jail. They've got it valued at $21 million, and so we're basically $7 million short. Some of those bigger ticket items, we might want to think about increasing the insurance amounts on them because, you know, it's easy to sit here and say, well, it's $7 million, we could figure it out. Well, it took us a lot of years to figure out how to try to pay for an $8 million communication system by going to the feds, the state, and everybody else in the world. We couldn't get it done if ARPA hadn't showed up. They'd still be using smoke signals right now to talk to one another around the county. So the point being is that I think that somebody seriously needs to take a look at this, especially some of these bigger ticket items, and weigh the risk that the county's taking versus the amount that it would cost them to do it on these bigger ticket items. I mean, just in this top, there's just a few of them there, like 323 St. John's and 400 St. John's, and then the Ori Griffin one is the jail, I think, and then the 600 College Road is $2.7 million. That these are the deficits, is what I'm calling out. 410 Highway 19 is $6.2 million deficit. 2509 Creel, which I'm assuming is this building here, is $9.2 million deficit. You know, lightning struck this building twice since I've been here, maybe 3 times. If it burnt this place down, what are we going to do? We don't have $9 million to make up the difference. And to be honest with you, I think some of these numbers that they're giving us here from being in the business may be a little conservative even at the net change due. So if you had to come up with another 10 or 12 or $14 million to build one of these buildings like this because this one burnt down on a fluke, it'd even be worse than having to buy a grinder pump. So
Good point.
anyhow, the point of that conversation is I think somebody seriously needs to take a look at these, and, you know, it doesn't have to happen this week or whatever, but I think you guys that are going to be around here for a while should make that decision on, do we really want to bite off that big of a piece of the apple, and how much would it cost to raise some of these to a little better level?
Commissioner Wilson, before I go to you, there are times in the insurance business, and I've been racking my brain since you started talking about it, what the comment is, but if you don't insure to value, then your losses are cut down too. So let's say that you have a $2 million building, you only insure it for $1 million, then the company thinks you want to self-insure for 50% of that. So there are times, and I can't think of the legal name of that, but there are times when that does happen. So if we don't insure to somewhat of value, then we could.
It's just something y'all need to look into. This was a very good exercise, by the way, whoever, you know, got this done. It was a very good exercise. I hope that this isn't one of them reports that just sits on a shelf somewhere and doesn't get any use, because there's some really good information in here.
Yeah.
If we could try to identify properties off this list that the county really doesn't need, you know, or have, I mean, if it's a easement for something like drainage or a road or whatever, that's one thing, but there's a lot of properties the county owns, they don't do anything with them. So that was one thing, and the other one was I think y'all need to take a serious look at the difference that you're in between the assessed value and and what it's actually worth. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, I think that was a great point. Commissioner Wilkinson.
Great discussion, and certainly learning on my end. I just had a couple questions. I assume this last page on page 130 is discussing our current leases. And one of the things that I feel like we need to do at the county level is, and y'all don't shoot me, but this is my personal thoughts, but I think that we should move the IT department. I think that, and I have not had any conversation with the tax collector or the tax collector-elect, but I know they're cramped down there, and it would, and also, there's security issues, and so, we just spent, and previously today, we've spent a lot of money, or going to be spending a lot of money to update the security at the IT, and I don't know what that would look like, but I think I'd like to see a task in the future to some ideas, whether we put them here at this governmental complex or we have another space. I don't know that we have another space, but I think we need to have the discussion at some point going forward. That's my thoughts.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, and I think that's a great idea. That's something that we've talked about with the IT department. And so I don't know if Mr. Ritchie is still in the room, but we were supposed to be getting some ideas about size and needs and space and things of that nature. So, and then the cost of moving the stuff that we need to get moved over. I do believe that conversation has been had. So what we need to do is just put together a timeline.
Yeah.
And put together some ideas about where we think we may be able to house the folks.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we've got that department is growing, and we just need to, security is obviously one of our utmost important things that we're working on. And then also, I see that this corner drugstore, which is, I believe, the piece that it says corner drugstore, formerly CDS Family and Behavior, is vacant. That's in that building that we're going to be appraising out the rest of the old Clark building, and this is the one part that was, if I'm correct, made improvements, that has some improvements to. So I guess the question is, can we reach out to, is that correct, first of all? Okay, so should we be reaching out to the clerk of courts and saying, do you have a need to move guardian ad litem over there? I mean, are they tight for their area? Or do we want to potentially lease that out and receive some kind of revenue in the future?
So we can definitely have those conversations. The board asked for the valuation to come back to them before we make a final decision. So we've engaged a commercial appraiser to give us an appraisal on the one standalone building, for which I think we're all referring to, which has had some improvements in it several years ago, as well as the 3 parcels that combine to make up what we refer to as the old Ronnie Clark building. Once that appraisal comes back, we can have all of those conversations. We have had some communication from Guardian Ad Litem already requesting additional space. And of course, the clerk's office has also talked to us about their need for a better space or more space. So certainly, once we have all that information, we'll bring it to the board and let you guys kind of have some more deliberation as to what you think is going to be the best course of action.
Okay, those were just my comments and thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, that finishes up. So we'll go to county attorney,
Nothing else, thank you.
county administrator.
No, sir. We've taken some notes over here, so we'll get back with the commission on the request, and look forward to seeing you at 5:05.
Starting with Commissioner Pickens, any comment?
Good workshop. Thank you for putting it together, and that's it.
Told you we could get it done. Commissioner Adamsack, any comment?
I have nothing today.
Commissioner Turner?
One question concerning what we were just talking about. I notice on here that the port warehouse that we rented to Victoria Marine, that they haven't accepted that lease yet. I was under the understanding they were going to do it pronto.
Yes, sir. It's taken care of. Matter of fact, I've already signed that lease. Sam brought it to me earlier today.
Okay, good deal.
Yes, sir.
That was my understanding. Thank you. I have
You're
nothing
welcome,
further.
I have nothing other than this was a great workshop, very
Thank you.
educational. Thank you.
And I have nothing, so that ends. Do we have any public comment on miscellaneous items? Anybody in the public would like to speak about miscellaneous items? This meeting is adjourned. See you at 5:05.